Okay, we have started recording. So, welcome everyone again for the June Azure Arc Meetup. Again, my name is Thomas Maurer. I'm part of the Azure Edge and Platform organization. And I'm basically doing this today instead of Lior. I hope he has some time off, which you can enjoy. Before we get started, a couple of housekeeping rules here. As you maybe know, again, this meetup is typically hosted the first or second or Tuesday of every month, uh, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Pacific. As I mentioned before, this call is recorded. So if you want to view this later, you can. We also have links, obviously, to the existing recordings from the past months as well. And then obviously make sure you all have muted your microphone so far. I think it looks good. If you have questions, please use the chat. You will also have the opportunity at the end of this session for some Q&A as well. Again, we will monitor the chat to make sure that you get your questions answered and so on. There are also email addresses shared from some of the PMs here in the call, so you can also obviously reach out to them as well to get more information and discuss certain features. I also want to make sure if you want to again watch the recordings, we have some links here as well. If you haven't been part of it, there is an ICS file for the monthly community meetup in the Git repo. And again, we will also have some links. You can see them at the end of this presentation. So today we have an awesome agenda. Here are, by the way, the links for the meetup. I promised you at the end, but I already have them here. Again, we have the AKA .ms links here on the right side where you can join the monthly meetup or find the existing monthly meetups with recordings and slide decks as well. And so if you want to be part of that community, feel free to join there. So today we have a very packed and great agenda. We have some awesome PMs here to present certain topics. So we'll start with Azure Monitor Managed Service for Prometheus for Arc-enabled Kubernetes. Maybe some of you have heard this announcement at Microsoft Build a couple of weeks back. We'll also have an update on Arc-enabled data services, video indexer, Arc-enabled Kubernetes, and Arc-enabled servers. So thank you very much again for joining. And we will start and kick it off with Vivian to talk about our Azure Monitor Managed Service for Prometheus. Vivian,
awesome.
take
Thanks
us away.
So much, Thomas. Yes, thank you. So I'm here today to talk about our Azure Monitor Managed Service for Prometheus, specifically for Arc-enabled Kubernetes clusters. So as Thomas mentioned, we announced public preview at Build. We announced GA for AKS clusters at Build as well. So we're excited to bring support to our Arc-enabled Kubernetes clusters as well. So for those of you that may not be familiar with Prometheus, it's an open source project backed by the CNCF, and it's considered the de facto standard when it comes to monitoring containerized workloads. And you might be asking, why are we offering a managed service of this open source tool? We've heard from many customers that running self-managed Prometheus is often a great solution for smaller deployments, but scaling this to handle larger enterprise workloads can be a challenge. So this is where we come in with our managed service. So it's compatible with Azure Monitor, and it delivers the best of what you like about open source the ecosystem, and while automating complex tasks such as scaling, high availability, and long-term data retention. It's available as a standalone service from Azure Monitor or as an integrated component to Container Insights, which is our log-based offering, as well as Azure Managed Grafana, which we use for dashboarding and visualization. I just wanted to come here and talk about the service today. Feel free to add any questions in the chat, and I can answer those now. But I've included links to our update, our build blog, and some documentation for getting started, as well as my contact there on the bottom right. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions, or if you want to set up kickoff call with some more, with a deeper dive into the product, feel free. Thanks so much, Thomas.
Awesome, thank you, Vivian. And actually, we have a question in the chat asking about the cost of the service. Do we maybe can share something on pricing in this case?
Yeah, our cost is based on ingestion. I don't have the number exactly off the top of my head. Unfortunately, Thomas, I don't have access to the chat, but if you could connect me with the person who asked the question after, that'd be great. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Okay, thank you very much, Vivian, for the update. Awesome. Okay, so next up, we have Nikita to share some updates on Azure Arc enabled data services. Take it away.
Thanks, Thomas. Hi, everyone. I'm Nikita Tucker, product manager in the Azure Arc enabled data services team, and I'm really excited to be here to go over the latest features that we've released for Azure Arc enabled data services. So what we'll start by doing is doing a deep dive into the capabilities that these features will unlock for you. And specifically, we'll look at the latest release. So we'll look into Azure Arc enabled SQL Server and also Azure Arc enabled SQL managed instance. With that being said, let's go ahead and get started. Let's start by taking a look at the May release for Azure Arc enabled SQL Server. As part of this release, we launched support for automated backups for all supported versions of SQL Server. So now you can use things like the AZ CLI to configure automated backups and also view your current backup policy as well. Besides this, you can also now provide a name for the server that hosts an Azure Arc enabled SQL Server instance when you enable SQL Server for Azure Arc. The way that you would do this is you would simply use the parameter machine name and then put in your Arc server name as well as an additional parameter in the CLI. Now let's look at the latest release, so what came out in June for Arc enabled SQL Server. We now have added support for being able to view your SQL Server configuration. What this means is that when you go into the Azure portal today, you will see a new SQL Server configuration tab. When you go ahead and you click on that tab, you'll be able to now see all of your SQL Server instances, and you can modify properties like license type, you can skip instances, and when you make a change for one of these properties, that will actually apply to all of your SQL Server instances there, which you can view on that screen as well. So that's the major update for Arc-enabled SQL Server for both May and June. Now let's go ahead and switch and talk about the updates for Arc-enabled data services. So as part of the May updates, one of the things that we added for Arc Data Services is we now have Open Search. And this replaces the existing Elasticsearch for both log database, and similarly, Open Search dashboards now replace Kibana for log interfaces as well. Also for Azure Arc enabled SQL managed instance in May, customer managed transparent data encryption, also known as TDE, is now in preview. In customer managed mode, TDE uses a service managed database master key, and using these keys, you can provide for the server certificate. So if you want to go ahead and actually configure in this customer managed mode, all you have to do is 1, create a certificate, and then 2, store that certificate as a secret in the same Kubernetes namespace as the instance. Besides this, we also launched some other features. So now you have support for SP configure to manage configuration. You can also have support for customer managed key tab rotation. And these key tabs are used to enable Active Directory logins for the managed instance specifically. We have also added support for service managed credential rotation. Service managed credential rotation is a user triggered option that you would actually initiate during a security issue or when you have periodic rotations which are required for compliance as well. So that's everything as part of May. Now, when we look at the June updates for the June release for Azure Arc enabled SQL managed instance, the one main one that we have added is Azure CLI support to manage TDE specifically. So if you turn on TDE, it does a couple of things. First one is all of the existing databases will now be automatically encrypted, and then all the newly created databases will be automatically encrypted as well. So it does that for existing and new databases. And those are all of the updates for Azure Arc enabled data services for this month. So thank you all for listening. I've added my contact information here. Feel free to reach out and add questions in the chat, and I'll be happy to answer if you have any as well. And with that being said, I'll hand it back to you, Thomas.
Thank you very much, Nikita. This was great. Great updates here. I also see that Carl is very happy about these updates. So thank you very much. Next up, we have Video Indexer enabled by Azure Arc. So Shemer, maybe you can take it away from here. Thank you very much.
Hey, how are you doing? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Checking. Perfect. So I think this is our first appearance in this community. So we're very excited to join this crowd. I'm a senior product manager in the Video Indexer product team. We are taking our first step into our community. I'm sure that some of you do not have the context about what is Video Indexer because we are new here. So give me 1 minute to update you. Video Indexer is a video AI product, cloud-based, already GA'd from 2018. We actually orchestrate above 40 AIs that some of you know from our friends from Cognitive Services, but some of them are proprietary for our team that are optimized for video indexing and extracting insights from the videos. So insights can be a lot of things, from transcription and translation, to face recognition, to object recognition, to topics, wiki topics, celebrity, etc., etc. If you skip on a slide, thank you. Okay, so you can see that we have a free trial and we really welcome everybody here. Just log into this website, videoindexer.ai. You can start indexing a video, don't even need a subscription to start using it, just to understand what is this offering. Okay, so this is, in short, if anyone have questions, you can contact us in the below email. So what are we doing in Arc? So we've discussed a lot with our customers and we understand that they do understand the offering of Video Indexer and how they can leverage that, if it's for deep search over their content, if it's for accessibility scenarios, if monetization, logo detection, a lot of those niceties. But a couple of them told us, look, we are a big entertainment studio. We're working on our new movie and we cannot move the movie outside of our premises. We can all understand why. We all read the news. Or we had another company, a big industrial company with 100 locations around the world, and they told us, look, we want to use your video indexer, but our content is regulated in different countries by different regulation, and not every country can move the content outside of the premise of that facility. Or last, we are working with big news company, and they told us, look, we have our video content database goes back to the 50s. That's a lot of information to move out of the premise up to the cloud just to index the cloud. Okay, we know that there are cost on networking and ingress networking, etc., etc. We all been there. So what we said, if you cannot come to ours, we'll come to you. Arc enables video indexers to extend the AIs into the on-prem of the customer by having a Kubernetes, Arc-enabled Kubernetes, where you can add our extension and run the AI within the premise of the content. So it doesn't matter if it's an on-prem, if it's another cloud, or even a VM inside Azure. You can, if you want to set a secured VNet, etc., etc. We are giving you that promise. So today, as I said, I'm really excited to announce our first private preview of the first set of AIs. We call it the basic video, which includes transcription, translation, and captioning, mostly for accessibility. If you want to translate, if you want to search in the transcription, etc., etc. A lot of user cases that we are working on. And we would really love to get people from this community joining our private preview. We have a registration form and contact information downstairs. We also provided an FAQ to answer some of the questions that I'm sure that everybody have here, or in the chat, or at the end of this call.
Awesome, thank you very much. We have one hand up. Usually we'll take the questions at the end, but since we have like Cam, you want to quickly unmute to ask your question instead of the chat?
Definitely, yes, that would be good to ask because I may forget because there are lots of good things that you talk about already. So I'm going to just lose my focus on this question. But there's something, thank you very much. So there's something on Azure called cognitive services. So this can work with cognitive services, right? I mean, think about that there's a hospital and you don't want to share the stuff, put them on the cloud about the security footages, etc., or any other kind of stuff in this way. And it can find out, for example, if you're looking for a wheelchair empty, so you can search for it and the system can exactly tell, but also keep the content again inside the hospital, for example.
Okay, so first of all, thank you for this.
With that.
Thank you for this question. I think I mentioned that briefly, but I know I'm running fast with my talk. So we are really good friends with cognitive services. Okay, we are part of the Azure Applied AI division. What we actually have underneath the hood, let's say 60 or 70% are cognitive services AI. So you'll get the same AI under our hood, but we'll optimize it first for to work with the videos. So not all cognitive services are optimized for video processing. We are also a one-stop shop and a SaaS offering. So we have an API and you just need to upload us. You don't need to start fiddling with different AIs and working with that. We're giving you all the insights from the video itself. So in that sense, if you want a specific AI, we definitely would let you go to cognitive services. But if you want to orchestrate 2 or more AIs, we'll give you a more robust answer or result.
Yeah, and if you think of it's just the beginning, so it will go deeper in the upcoming close future, isn't it?
Yeah. So the next leg is the basic video, where we're providing also OCR and we object detection and frame understanding. So we're giving by Ignite, we're hoping to announce our next leg of AIs. And again, at the end of the line, we'll have full parity of what you'll see in the cloud. You can go to the video indexer site and see all 40 AIs that are listed there. And at the end of our long road, we'll definitely get all those AIs to the on-prem. And hospitals are a great use case for us. We would love to continue discussing this if you want.
Yeah, I'm happy with that. I used to teach these courses as active trainer. I'm still trainer, but just dealing with less training content. But I was also teaching and using that kind of examples and all the documentations accordingly. So made me remember those days. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Again, if you have more questions, feel free to use the chat, or we also have some more time at the end for some Q&A. So thank you very much for sharing the updates. So next up, Arc-enabled Kubernetes. So Jalen, take us away.
Cool. Thanks, Thomas. Hi, everyone. I'm Jalen. I am a product manager on the Arc platform team, and I'm here today to talk to you about a private preview feature that Arc-enabled Kubernetes is coming out with, Workload Identity Federation. So if you've been a developer and you've been previously having to manage keys and secrets for your workloads, that's what this feature is aimed to address. And we are seeking customers who are interested in participating in the private preview. Some of the key benefits for the Workload Identity Federation feature that we're coming out with is giving Kubernetes applications the ability to access Azure cloud resources securely with AAD based on annotated service accounts. So because of this feature, there'll be no more need to manually manage, store, or rotate your secrets in Kubernetes. And essentially, a couple scenarios for this feature. You can enable this Workload Identity Federation feature using the Azure CLI during Arc onboarding and Arc updating. And you can also enable a user-assigned managed identity with a workload. So the overall aim of this feature is to enable you to access secure Azure resources without needing to manually manage secrets or service principals or anything like that. So I have some documentation here about the AKS equivalent feature that recently went GA. So if you want to read up on that, the documentation is there. And if you'd like to participate in our private preview for this feature, feel free to reach out to me for any further information. So yeah, thanks so much, Thomas. If you have any questions, you can feel free to put them in the chat, or like Thomas mentioned, we have some time after that I can answer questions. So thanks.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Shane, for this update. I know a lot of customers have been waiting for this, so really excited. So next up, in our last topic of today, we have Azure Arc-enabled servers with Arnav. Arnav, feel free.
Awesome. Hey, folks. Arnav from the Arc server team, providing the sort of regular update on Arc-enabled servers. So first, just wanted to go over sort of the agent changes we had. We know we missed last month, so more agent changes, but you can find out all about it in the what's new about the Arc server agents in our doc releases. Main highlights are we've had quite a few agent enhancements. So specifically with the AZCM agent show command, we no longer require admin privileges for that. We know a lot of people use that in order to kind of see their health of their AZCM agent, as well as there's an improvement in the filters output there. We also noted that there were some issues with some of the extensions, specifically UMC, MDE, and Azure Security Agent in Linux environments. So we've actually increased the resource limits for those in order to facilitate kind of ease of extension management there based off of some of the customer feedback we're getting. Next, we noted that there's distro support. So we are added distro support for Amazon Linux 2023. And again, if there is a specific distro that you or a customer is blocked because of, we'd love to learn about that. So please be in touch either with your account team or with us. We're always continuing to add new Linux distros to expand our support there. And the final thing I wanted to note is that from an update perspective, from Agent 1.30, so that was last month's, we actually introduced a new schedule task that checks for agent updates daily. And so the goal here is we're going to be facilitating and making available an agent update and auto agent update capability. And so this, as well as the cron job on the Linux side that you might have noticed started on a daily cadence, is associated with that. So that's sort of the kind of under the hood machinery behind the auto agent update capability that's upcoming. So we wanted to share that because we have gotten a couple of questions there as well. The final thing I wanted to note from an agent perspective is there was a fix. So version 1.31 had a known issue. We know that some of you are impacted by it, specifically with proxy servers. And so a new version of that agent was released actually June 14th, so middle of the month, very quickly after we detected that issue with proxy with the network error that customers were receiving. So just be aware that the older version of 1.31, which is no longer available, did have that issue if you were working in a proxy environment, and that's now been fixed. If you want to learn more about that, that's outlined in what's new about our agent. And if you want to learn more about the schedule task piece, that's also outlined in our documentation. And that also includes how you can opt out of a schedule task or the cron job, depending on your environment. I have one more slide, but before that, I see there's a question. I'm happy to answer.
Yeah. I'm not sure if that question is related to Arc-enabled servers or if that's already for the Kubernetes DevOps questions you had.
It's Kubernetes and DevOps.
Okay, so let's keep that. I don't know if you can go ahead with the next slide, and then we will have Cam after that. Awesome.
Yeah, sounds great.
Apologies for just interrupting again. Sorry, guys.
Oh, no worries.
No worries.
I would probably guess the answer. So it's good that you mentioned that it's a Kubernetes DevOps question on the server wheelhouse. The final piece I wanted to share is we do have a private preview ongoing and upcoming, which is on run command. So I shared a few months ago that this is on the roadmap. Well, this is now ready for you guys to test. So with run command, as you might be aware, you're able to use the connected machine agent to run scripts on Arc-enabled Windows or Linux server. And so this is very similar to the run command capability that you have natively for Azure VMs. And so there's lots of use cases for run command. You can use it for general machine or app management perspectives. You can use it, for example, to diagnose issues, networking problems, run scripts, etc. But it's a lot more controlled than sort of the custom script extension based approach. And so in our private preview, we'll be giving you access to a private build of the connected machine agent that supports run command and allowing you within your subscriptions to test out the run command capabilities using Azure CLI. And we'd love to learn about what scenarios you're planning to use run command for, your experience there, and basically inform what enhancements we're going to do as we
Oh, I think
take this. You can drop me a note at my email or Raghu a note in his email, or you can fill out the form to sign up. Yep.
We quickly lost you at like 5 seconds ago or something. You were pretty frozen.
Sorry
so
about
just
that.
the last 2 sentences or something like that. I like to sign
If
up.
you want to sign up for the preview, you can email me or Raghu, or you can use the form that I've linked there as well. So either of those are good options, and we love feedback. So we're currently recruiting. You'll get access to all the preview materials this week and next, and we're happy to take your feedback as we enhance. So really looking forward to all the perspective the community brings here.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Arnav. Again, this is
Awesome.
also a feature I've been waiting myself for a very, very long time because it works so great with Azure machines. Happy to now have that on premises and at the edge as well. So yeah, great stuff.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Thank you, Arnav. Okay, and so now we are in the Q&A part. So feel free to raise your hand and then ask your question. Or if you don't want to ask your question out loud, also feel free to put it in the chat. You can obviously talk to all of it, all these topics we just had. We have the PMs on the call. And so, Cam, you are waiting desperately to ask your question here. So go ahead.
Not desperately, but yeah, I can accept that one. Yeah. So the question I have is, in fact, on the last session that I was looking for to talk about this one with some people, and just because of the time differences and because of they had holiday and I had holiday, etc., we didn't have a chance to meet up. But I think after this one, maybe we can have a chance to talk about this. What I'm asking is that, especially the Kubernetes stuff and any other kind of Azure Stack ACI related solutions. What I'm checking that if we will be able to do this DevOps configuration, because of what at the end of the day, Azure Stack ACI is preferred for most of the two of these options. One is the cost, and the other one is maybe the third one is also available, but the other one is the option to keep the data inside for GDPR stuff, and the third one is maybe just too much data to transfer to Azure, etc. But at the end, you prefer to keep your data, if you prefer to keep your data at your own premises, Azure DevOps will work or will not work. So I'm after how to find out how Azure DevOps will work with Azure Stack ACI, and if it is possible to use Azure Stack ACI to keep your code but manage them again through the Azure DevOps console, and use the options to manage the resources. Like, for example, if you have a Kubernetes solution that you have designed and you would like to create a image and deploy the content to that image so that that will be kept in the repository, and the different locations can still use the same image to use as a front-end application. That's definitely possible on normal Azure configuration on AKS. But will it be possible to use this one on Azure Stack ACI? And Azure Stack ACI Kubernetes solution will provide that kind of approach through the DevOps configuration. And when I, for example, complete and commit something on one of my branches, it will be automatically creating the resource on Azure Stack ACI and deploy the content. And maybe if I do some tests via Selenium or other kind of options, etc., or use Jenkins in some part of it. So how it will go for?
So
did I ask? Is it too much to ask? Apologies.
It's a very long question. So maybe, Jalen, I don't know if this goes into the GitOps integration with Azure Arc enabled Kubernetes, or if you maybe can take that one.
Yeah, I'm not. Could you clarify a bit
also,
more?
let me show my ugly face. Hello, guys.
Could you clarify a bit more of the scenario? Were you referencing like the workload identity federation feature specifically, or just DevOps in general? Will DevOps work with Azure Stack ACI?
In fact, from top to bottom, I mean, generally, if it's going to work as expected, like as normal AKS solution or as a normal standard Azure solution, because when you are creating a resource through the DevOps option, what happens? You can just input some information for creating a resource by using YAML or by using the old traditional way, and it will be, for example, creating a resource maybe for the testing purposes via this way by running some JSON codes, and it will be creating the resource on normal Azure. And then after it is done, it will be doing the test automatically in the background, whichever option that you use. And then if it's all okay, then you can go for the further step. If you don't reach 87.5 grades, then it will be automatically removing it because you don't need to. It doesn't respond to your expectations. That's all okay. And DevOps is especially providing different additional solutions to do your tests or do your deployments and do your builds, etc. And will it be working with Azure Stack ACI as the normal solution? Plus, will it be possible to use the Azure Stack ACI Kubernetes solution like we use on AKS on Azure?
So, Cam, you're specifically talking about deploying workloads to the edge on an HCI box, right? From a customer perspective, customer code,
Definitely,
customer
yes.
workloads.
Definitely, yes, because we need to know
will there be
about the plan.
consistent with how you deploy in a pipeline to the edge as you would to the cloud? Okay. No, it's not about the infrastructure. It's about workloads to the infrastructure.
Yeah. Both.
Great. Okay. Just want to make sure we're clear about what the question is.
I see. Okay. Yeah, I am not sure, but I can figure that out. So why don't I take a quick note to make sure to figure out if the deployment would be the same on the cloud versus the edge for workloads going to AKS HCI. Does that make sure I have your question correct?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So, I mean, we can answer in part, right? For the AKS workloads, the customer code itself, right, is going to have very similar deployment options, right? That's the whole point of the GitOps, way of targeting customer code at it. When it comes to actually configuring the infrastructure to be ready for that code, right? Like an end-to-end pipeline, including the infrastructure, you will get a like an Azure-like experience, right? Like with upcoming versions of what we're building, right? And you have the Azure provisioned AKS hybrid clusters through the Arc Resource Bridge, and the ability to deploy VMs through the Azure Resource Bridge. When that's going to be deployed on HCI and available, you get the same ability to make those artifacts part of an Azure deployment pipeline, right? You can deploy with ARM, you can deploy with Bicep. It will integrate into your existing tools. It's going to be different though, right? It's not 100% consistent Azure, right? You're not using the same IaaS APIs. You're not using the exact same storage constructs.
Causing little trouble, but yeah.
Right, but it can be part of the same. It's the same API interface, right? You're still using ARM to drive the deployment to the edge, right? And you can integrate it. There's going to be differences, right? The edge is not going to be 100% consistent. It's not going to be Azure at your edge entirely. It's going to be something Azure connected and controllable at the edge, but you'll have to create some new artifacts to go along with it.
Yeah. So looking forward to it.
That's all Arc Resource Bridge, right? So that's work that's coming it's going to be much better integrated, much clearer in 23H2 and future releases of HCI, because that is, I would say that's our North Star, right? Our end state is you'll be able to deploy and manage workloads to your edge clusters through Arc and ARM. And that's where that work is going to end up being delivered. The Arc Resource Bridge is a key piece of that.
Yeah, to be specific, for example, that I'm just working on something. I mean, the stuff that I'm searching for doesn't have to be tested by someone else, or doesn't need to have a document. So I can just do by myself by doing this. So what I'm after is, for example, have my code on premises and try to do some commit on the code, and that commit will be automatically going for and deploying that content onto a Kubernetes image on my on-premises repository. And afterwards, this repository will be updated, and the service, the app, whatever I publish to outside, etc., can go and collect that latest version and directly deploy itself. After it is fully done, it can be tested by another service again to check if everything is working fine. So this is something I'm after, and if I can do this on Azure Stack ACI, that will be fantastic, by keeping the code on premises and keeping the image on premises and publishing it on premises, etc. This is what I'm after, to be exact. And I'm trying to do my best also to test the solutions. And if it is not written, that doesn't mean it cannot be done. That's why I'm going to check also.
Carmen, quickly, like to just have your thoughts there. For me, this sounds very much like we are really speaking about containerized applications here. I mean, to me, this sounds very much that GitOps can basically do this today, right? I mean, in theory, you can have, I mean, you do the GitOps configuration in Azure. However, your Git repository doesn't need to be hosted in the cloud, so you can run it on premises.
Yeah.
And then you can store all your stuff there. What you also need is obviously a container registry, where you can have your container images somewhere, which you need to host wherever you want it. You can either have it in Azure, or you can have it, again, you can build your own one on
premises,
and use that as well. And then you're basically just using the mechanism of GitOps from the cloud. However, the code will be used, will not leave or will not go to Azure and come back. The code will be directly pulled from the Git repo. So the only thing what you need to do is, like, if you have Kubernetes on premises, like let's say AKS, it needs to have a connection network-wise to the Git repo where your code is stored, right? And then you can actually do this process, this GitOps process. So that I don't know, does that maybe help you and solve the thing you want to do? Or
I'm already after this one, but just say that to make this one automated in the better way. So I mean, technically, I can do exactly like you told, and I'm nearly doing it, but just make it just like one click, just commit, and everything is done in the background automatically. So that's what I'm after for now. Like we can do on normal DevOps, not on Azure Stack.
Okay, good. Okay, thank you very much for that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ken, for asking that question. There was also a question by Ken about a private preview for Arc-enabled SQL monitoring. If there are any details to be shared, and Nikita, you already answered. You also want to quickly answer on Mike how you want to proceed with this.
Yeah, so for the monitoring private preview, that's correct. It's coming up. So if anyone's interested, please feel free to send me an email or just add in the chat, and I will share the details with you in that, and we can get you set up for the private preview for monitoring.
Awesome. Thank you. Perfect. So we don't have any other questions so far. I can't see anything. I also don't have anyone raising their hand. There is one. Thank you, Carl. So Carl, go ahead.
Hello. Yeah, I'm not seeing the chat anymore. I would like to post a link if I could. My question is about, is there anyone out here in the community that has an experience to Arc-enabled servers that are non-persistent? So, for example, having on-premises workers with Citrix, PVS, or MCS, and would like to connect them to Azure via Azure Arc. Use cases would be like monitoring and also patch management for master machines. And I've recently, so just today, read an article on the Citrix blog that they have managed to support Azure Monitoring Agent on these machines for MCS. And this is basically for me a door opener that they are investigating how to implement it for non-persistent environments.
Okay.
And this is my question. Is there any motion from Citrix and Microsoft to make it also happening for the Azure Connected Machine Agent for Azure Arc?
Yeah, so I think that's maybe some interesting question for Arnulf. I also see Wendy basically asking about Arnulf. Maybe you have something to share for non-persistent servers on that. Maybe you know something or can share something on that.
Yeah, that's a great question. So we do have some customers that are using Arc-enabled servers with their non-persistent servers. This is typically not a scenario we officially support. So in our documentation, and I'll find this, we do highlight there's some risks with this, right? Because if it's non-persistent, there can sometimes be some lead time, right, between onboarding to Arc and then the deployment of the extensions, as well as the resource creation and deletion. If they're named similarly and they overlap, that can cause some issues. And the final piece is sort of the connectivity, where you do need to maintain connectivity, right? And so we've noticed that sometimes with these non-persistent VMs, there are like intermittent connectivity lapses. So those are sort of the three considerations that I'd like to highlight, you know, like the lead time from onboarding to Arc and getting the extension deployed, the naming convention, and then third, the connectivity piece. But if you kind of consider those, we do have customers that are using Arc with their non-persistent VMs like VDI. And specifically, they've been using it for Defender deployments with Monitor as well. So this is a scenario we see sometimes, but it's not something we officially support because there are these limitations, as you're aware.
Yeah, I see your point.
Yeah, and I'm happy to set up if you want if you want to share more details and walk through. I'm happy to set up time and we can discuss this as well offline.
All right. Yeah. Thank you very much. I'll drop you a line. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Arnulf. Thank you very much, Carl. I have one more hand from Wendy.
Excuse me. Yes, thank you. Chat does not work for me. Can Nikita provide her email address, please?
Yeah, I'll add it in the chat right now.
So I can't see.
Let me quickly go back on the slides, then you can. I think Nikita's email is on. Here we go. Sorry. Here we go. Perfect.
And I can. Thank you very much. Fabulous. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you very much. Okay, so with that, we're gonna close down this monthly Azure Arc community meetup. Thank you very much again for everyone who was attending. This will obviously be uploaded to our GitHub repository, where you can find all the previous ones as well, like with the presentation. There you can also then obviously find all the contact informations in the decks, as well as the recording itself. If you have any requests or topics you would like to cover, please feel free to send an email to Lior. Also, if you want to sign him up for some newsletter, no, just kidding, don't do that. Again, feel free to send them out these requests to Lior as well. And then obviously we have some more, if you want to learn more about Azure Arc, also check out the Azure Arc Jumpstart, our technical documentation, and our Azure Arc learning path on Microsoft Learn. So with that, I want to say thank you very much and looking forward to see you in the next one. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much. Have a good day. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Good day. Bye.